Hola muchachos, this is it, the last one, the final part of an Inspector Calls. Woo! Okie dokie. Good to virtually see you all. Remember, sorry, I was just checking that my stream was working, because funnily enough, although everything seems to be saying everything's working, the actual Facebook stream page says it can't play the video. But it is working, I reckon, because I'm connected to it, so let's crack on. So, I've just put a message as well in the comments that I've now finished the 3 context videos I was doing about an Inspector Calls, so they're all up on the school's YouTube channel. There's one on... what the heck were they? There's one political one on left and right wing politics. Hello, hello. And there's one on class, like upper class, middle class, working class, and there's one on something else, or historic sort of context, like the First World War, Second World War, the Titanic, all that malarkey, problems, disputes between businesses and workers. Right, sorry chaps, I'm just having to rearrange everything here. Sorry about that. Okay, so if you remember yesterday, we had Inspector Leave. He made his big speech, didn't he, about how we all got to look after each other. And then we had Gerald returning and saying he thought there was something strange going on. And that something strange, he reckoned, was that the inspector wasn't a police inspector. And Sheila, who, I know I keep saying it, but I'm going to keep saying it, seems the smartest of this bunch, had already sort of come to that conclusion just from her judgment. But Gerald says, no, I met a policeman, he didn't know who he was. And so Burling phoned Colonel Roberts, the chief of police, and there you go. He said he's not a policeman. Remember, we've got to focus today, as we have done a lot, on have they learned their lesson? Remember yesterday, Eric and Sheila have learned their lesson. Mr. and Mrs. Burling most certainly have not, and we'll continue with that now. As Burling says, on the subject of this not being a real police inspector, I felt it all the time. No, he didn't. That's Mr. Burling. This makes a difference, you know. In fact, it makes all the difference. I suppose we're all nice people now. If you've nothing more sensible to say than that, Sheila, you better keep quiet. She's right, though. And you better keep quiet anyhow. If that had been a police inspector and he'd heard you confess... Arthur, careful. Yes, yes. You see, Gerald, you don't happen to know the rest of our crimes and idiocies. That's right, and I don't want to. So, again, straight away, that thing about learning a lesson, Burling, this makes all the difference. All he cares about, will there be a public scandal? Will they look bad now? So as far as he's concerned, this is not a real policeman, there will be no public scandal. I don't care now, it's fine. Who cares that the girl's dead? Sheila, oh, I suppose we're all nice people now. So Sheila and Eric both say, whoa, no, this isn't right. We still did those bad things, doesn't matter who that man was. He pointed out what we'd done. The Burlings, hey, who cares? We got away with it. Yeah. Mrs. Burling as well. You know, they don't want to tell Gerald the rest of it all. They're also worried about appearances. Okay. What do you make of this business now? Was it a hoax? Of course, somebody put that fellow up to come in here and hoaxing us. Believe it or not, there are people in this town who dislike me enough to do that. I can believe that. We ought to have seen through it from this first. In the ordinary way, I believe I would have done. But coming like that, bang on top of our little celebration, just when we're all feeling so pleased of ourselves, naturally, it took me by surprise. Excuses. And then, oh, flaming Mrs. Burling, what an awful cow she is. Don't use cow, don't quote cow in your essays. I wish I'd been here when that man first arrived. I'd have asked him a few questions before I allowed him to ask us any. Sheesh, and Sheila speaks for all of us. It's all right saying that now. I was the only one of you who didn't give in to him. And now I say we must discuss this business quietly and sensibly and decide if there's anything to be done about it. You're absolutely right, my dear. Already we've discovered one important fact. That fellow was a fraud and we've been hoaxed. And that may not be the end of it by any means. I'm sure it isn't. You are, eh? Good. You see, Burling always been stuck in charge. He hasn't got a flaming clue though, has he? So, oh, Gerald, have you got an idea? Go on, you take over. Yeah. But first, he's feeling annoyed because Eric's restless moving about. Eric, sit down. I'm all right. All right, you're anything but all right, and you needn't stand there as if what? As if you'd nothing to do with this. Just remember your own position, young man. If anybody's up to the neck in this business, you are. So you better take some interest in it. I do take some interest in it. I take too much, that's my trouble. It's mine too. Now listen, you two. If you're still feeling on edge, then the least you can do is keep quiet. Leave this to us. I'll admit that fellow's antics rattled us a bit, but we found him out. And all we have to do is keep our heads. Now it's our turn. Our turn to do what? To behave sensibly, Sheila, which is more than you're doing. What's the use of talking about behaving sensibly? You're beginning to pretend that nothing's really happened at all. I can't see it like that. This girl's still dead, isn't she? Nobody's brought her back to life, have they? It's just what I feel, Eric, and it's what they don't seem to understand. Whoever that chap was, the fact remains that I did what I did. And Mother did what she did, and the rest of you did what you did to her. It's still the same rotten story, whether it's been told to a police inspector or somebody else. According to you, I ought to feel a lot better. And then he says to Gerald, because he doesn't care this whole rubbish about gossip getting out. I still some money, Gerald, you might as well know. Burling tries to interrupt. I don't care, let him know. The money's not the important thing. It's what happened to the girl and what we all did to her that matters. And I still feel the same about it. And that's why I don't feel like sitting down and having a nice cosy talk. And Eric's absolutely right, and it's the best thing any one of us has said tonight, and it makes me feel a little bit less ashamed of us. You're just beginning to pretend all over again. Look, for God's sake! Arthur, well, my dear, they're so damned exasperating. They just won't try to understand our position, or to see the difference between a lot of stuff like this coming out in private and a downright public scandal. And I say the girl's dead, and we all helped to kill her, and that's what matters. And I say, either stop shouting or get out! Some fathers I know would have kicked you out of the house anyhow by this time. So hold your tongue if you want to stay here. Don't give a damn now whether I stay here or not. You'll stay here long enough to give me an account of that money you stole. Yes, and to pay it back too. But that won't bring Eva Smith back to life, will it? It doesn't alter the fact that we all helped to kill her. Okay, battle lines drawn, I would say pretty clearly. So, can you just let me know, am I still broadcasting? Because I've now got a Facebook warning saying that this video is just not coming through at all. So it's making me feel a little bit edgy, I've got to be honest. I'll keep going, but please, someone put a comments just to let me know you're there. So yeah, battle lines drawn. Sheila and Eric saying nothing else matters. Who cares about this stolen money? Who cares about anything else? We did stuff. Oh, thank you, Sophia. Brilliant. We did stuff that killed a girl. So who cares about anything else? Who cares about us, not having a public scandal? We did these bad things. Thank you, Dylan. Thank you, Alfie. Thank you. Sorry about that. It's a very scary looking red triangled message from Facebook saying it's not received any video for some time from me. Well, here it is. Good man, Jamie. Sorry, that's quiet. No, I didn't think you were quiet. It's just, like I say, Facebook's telling me that I'm talking to myself. So thank goodness I'm relieved. So Eric says it doesn't alter the fact that we all helped to kill her. But is it a fact? Of course it is. You don't know the whole story yet. I suppose you can prove now you didn't spend last summer keeping this girl instead of seeing me, eh? I did keep a girl last summer. I've admitted this, and I'm sorry, Sheila. Well, I must admit you came out of it better than the rest of us. The inspector said that. He wasn't an inspector. Well, he inspected us all right. And don't let start dodging and pretending now. Between us, we drove that girl to suicide. Did we? Who says so? Because I say there's no more real evidence we did than there was that that chap was a police inspector. Of course there is. No, there isn't. Look at it. A man comes here, pretending to be a police officer. It's a hoax of some kind. Now, what does he do? Very artfully working on bits of information he's picked up here and there. He bluffs us into confessing that we've all been mixed up in this girl's life in one way or another. And so we have. But how do you know it's the same girl? Now, wait a minute. Let's see how that would work. Now, no, it wouldn't. Burling there. So Gerald's saying, who says this is the same girl? This guy's pulled lots of information together. Who says it's the same girl? And Burling, of course, always wants to take the credit for everything. Steps in. Oh, let's have a but he can't work it out. It's gonna. No, it doesn't work out. Yeah. And as Eric now says, we all admitted it. All right, you all admitted something to do with a girl. But how do we know it's the same girl? He looks around triumphantly at all of them. They're all trying to puzzle this out. Look here, Mr. Burling. You sack a girl called Eva Smith. You've forgotten, but he shows you a photograph of her, and then you remember, right? Yes, that's straightforward enough. But what then? Well, then, he happens to know that Sheila once had a girl sacked from Millwood's shop. He tells us it's the same Eva Smith. And he shows her a photograph that she remembers. Yes, the same photograph. How do you know it's the same photograph? Did you see the one your father looked at? No, I didn't. And did he see the one the inspector showed you? No, he didn't. I see what you mean. Well, hello. Remember the inspector said one line of inquiry at a time, and sometimes people did try to look at other people's photographs and he stopped them. People didn't see each other's photographs. Ooh. We've no proof it was the same photograph, and therefore no proof it was the same girl. Now take me. I never saw a photograph, remember? He caught me out by suddenly announcing that this girl changed her name to Daisy Renton. I gave myself away at once because I'd known a Daisy Renton. And there wasn't the slightest proof that this Daisy Renton was really Eva Smith. Exactly. We've only his word for it. And we'd his word for it that he was a police inspector, and we know now he was lying. So he could have been lying all the time. Exactly. It probably was. Now what happened after I left? I was upset because Eric had left home, and this man said that if Eric didn't come back, he'd have to go and find him. And that made me feel worse still, and his manner was so severe and he seemed so confident. Then quite suddenly he said I'd seen Eva Smith only 2 weeks ago. Those were his exact words. And like a fool I said, yes, I had. I don't see now why you did that. She didn't call herself Eva Smith when she came to see you at the committee, did she? No, of course she didn't. And I ought to have said so. But feeling so worried, when he suddenly turned on me with those questions, I answered more or less as he wanted me to answer. But Mother, don't forget that he showed you a photograph of the girl before that, and you obviously recognised her. Did anyone else see that photograph? No, he only showed it to me. Then don't you see, there's still no proof it was really the same girl. He might have shown you the photograph of any girl who applied to the committee. And how do we know she was either Eva Smith or Daisy Renton? Gerald's dead right. He could have used a different photograph each time. And we'd be none the wiser. We may all have been recognising different girls. Exactly. Did he ask you to identify a photograph, Eric? No. He didn't need a photograph by the time he'd got round to me. But obviously it must have been the girl I knew who went round to see Mother. Why must it? She said she'd had to have help because she wouldn't take any more stolen money, and the girl I knew had already told me that. Even then, though, that may have been all nonsense. I don't see much nonsense about it when a girl goes and kills herself. You may be getting yourself out nicely, but I can't, nor can Mother. We did her in all right. Don't be in such a hurry to put yourself into court. That interview with your mother could have been just as much a put-up job. Like all this police inspector business. The whole damn thing could have been a piece of bluff. How can it? The girl's dead, isn't she? But what girl? There were probably 4 or 5 different girls. That doesn't matter to me. The one I knew is dead. Is she? How do we know she is? How do we know any girl killed herself today? Now answer that one. But look here, it all began with that. Doesn't mean it's true. As a matter of fact, it didn't begin with that. It began with this fellow announcing himself as a police inspector. And we now know that he wasn't. Just somebody hoaxing us. I see what you mean. But for all that I wouldn't be too sure about the hoaxing part, he didn't look like a hoaxer to me. Of course he didn't. Otherwise he'd been wasting his time. He had to give an impressive performance. It didn't deceive me. At least swore then. Well, perhaps not. But look at it from his point of view. We're having a nice little celebration here and feeling rather pleased with ourselves. Now he has to work this trick on us. Well, the first thing he has to do is to give us such a shock that after that he can bluff us all the time. So he starts right off. A girl's just died in the infirmary. She drank some strong disinfectant. Died in agony. Alright, didn't pile it on. There you are, you see. Just repeating it shakes you a bit. And that's what he had to do. Shake us at once. And then start questioning us. Until we didn't know where we were. Oh, let's admit that. He took us alright. He had the laugh on us. He'd laugh his head off if I knew it. If it was really all a hoax. I'm convinced there is no police inquiry. No one girl that all this happened to. No scandal. No suicide? We can settle that at once. How? By calling up the infirmary. Either there's a dead girl there or there isn't. It'd look a bit queer, wouldn't it? Ringing up at this time of night. I don't mind doing it. Mind you, they may have a girl there who committed suicide, and that may have given this fellow the idea of coming here and frightening us. But even if there is, we've no way of knowing if it's the one who's been talked about tonight. And if there isn't, then obviously that's the final and definite proof that the whole thing is a sell. And now we'll see. It goes to the phone. Oh my gosh. So, okay. Let's just quickly go through Gerald's idea, just to build up a bit of tension. You know, that whole Steinbeck stunt when the dog goes out and we all wait to see what happens. Pardon me. So, Gerald's saying there's no one girl, yeah? That each person was shown a photograph, or wasn't even shown a photograph, but nobody saw each other's photograph. And there was at least 3 different names that were used. So, is this a clever trick by the inspector, who, as Burling said, has come in very sort of positively from the start, knocked them off guard by talking about this horrific suicide, which upset some of them, and has then shocked them all with these revelations and pictures of different girls who they've been nasty to. He's been like researching all this and has found it out. Burling even suggested that maybe, because it is quite a nice little tie-up, isn't it? A girl coming to ask for help because somebody got her pregnant and then once offered her stolen money. Does seem a big coincidence with Gerald and with Eric. But then Burling even suggests maybe that was a setup as well. That maybe the girl who went to see the committee was in on the scam. Okay. Good. Here's a nice question. On arriving, did the inspector actually say he's a police inspector? I want to say yes, but... So, can I... Remind me, I'll check that back in a second, because I've got this very dodgy PDF I've got of this, and the horrible feeling Oh, no, don't be stupid, I'll find it. Page 65. Okay. So, and if you think about it as well, we've got, let's see, Burling saw a photograph and got a name, Eva Smith. Then Sheila Sheila sees a photograph, but there's no name because she wouldn't know who that person was, would she? She wouldn't know that Eva Smith is You know, the person she got sacked is just some shop girl to her. Gerald then doesn't get told she's Davis Smith. She gets told she's Daisy Renton. So it could be a totally different girl, couldn't it? Doesn't get to see a photograph, does he? Or does he? No, because he recognises her name and immediately thinks, well, that's her. Mrs. Burling gets told another name again, Mrs. Burling, and says is shown a photograph, but again, might or might not be her. And then Eric doesn't get anything. I think Eric did say, did he even know her name? I can't remember. I'll have a look in a sec, because I'm just looking. All right, okay. The inspector. Let's see how he comes in. Edna announces him as inspector. Inspector Gould, she says. Inspector enters. Dooby-dooby-doo. Mr. Burling, good evening, Inspector. You're new, aren't you? Yes, sir. Okay, so he said only recently transferred, and he has announced himself to Edna as the inspector. So yeah, I see what you mean. This is quite interesting, that, isn't it? That is quite an interesting idea, that. Does he actually announce himself as the inspector? Not literally, not as many words. So is it that then there's no dead girl? That the dead girl doesn't exist? These are just lots of different nasty things that these people did to girls of a lower class than them, abusing their power, and now someone's come and played a big hoax on them. So Gerald's going to find out by phoning the hospital. Has a girl been admitted as a suicide after drinking disinfectant? We'll go to that old telephone thing. Oh, by the way, I remembered after I said to you about that telephone exchange in Wrexham that I've been delivering my mum and dad's food because they can't go out the house at all, and I remembered then, oh hang on, I drove down that road. So yesterday after I did the stream, I took their food and I drove past, and yes, it's still there, still says Wrexham Exchange, and it is BT, so it's still the telephone companies. That's pretty pointless information. Alright then, I've stalled long enough, let's find out. So he goes to the phone and says the number again to the operator. Brumley, 8986. Is that the infirmary? Yes, this is Gerald Croft, of Croft Limited. Yes. We're rather worried about one of our employees. Have you had a girl brought in this afternoon who committed suicide by drinking disinfectant? Or any suicide? Yes, I'll wait. As he waits, Burling wipes his brow, Sheila shivers, Eric clasps and unclasps his hands. Yes? You're certain of that? I see. Well, thank you very much. Good night. Puts the phone down, looks at them. No girl has died in there today. No girl's been brought in after drinking disinfectant. They haven't had a suicide for months. There you are. Proof positive. The whole story's just a lot of moonshine. Nothing but an elaborate sell. Whew. Nobody likes to be sold as badly as that, but for all that, what a relief. Gerald, a drink. Thanks, I think I could just do with one now. So could I. And I must say, Gerald, you've argued this very cleverly, and I'm most grateful. Well, you see, while I was out for a walk, I had time to cool off and think things out a little. He gives him a drink.